Hi there, and welcome to another Business Tube podcast. And in today's session, I'm going to talk to you about growth and expansion. Basically, why do businesses grow, how do businesses grow and get bigger. Now, first of all, you need to know about the different methods that a business can use to get bigger. And the first option is internal, and internal growth is often called organic or natural growth. And what we mean by internal is it's growing internally just by opening more stores. So you start off with one store, you make profit, you reinvest that in your business, you open a second store, then you reinvest your profit, open a third, a fourth, and so on. So you're just naturally growing internally just by opening more stores within the business. The next way is external. Now with external growth is when a business is actually buying another business, an external business, and they are joining together. So two businesses become one bigger business. Okay, so this is external because you're buying an external business and you're now bringing that into your company. The first method is merger. Now with a merger, it's just when two businesses join together. You can think of it like friendly, they're agreeing to join together to create a bigger business. Then we have a takeover. Now a takeover is when one business buys another business. So a bigger business might buy all the shares in a public limited company. So public limited companies, just remember guys, you don't have any control over who buys shares. Where are the shares traded? They're traded on a stock exchange. So another business can start buying shares in another company, keep buying and buying and buying the shares, and eventually when they have 51%, they own, they're the majority shareholder, and now you have one big company. So one business has taken over another and they've bought it, okay? And we call that a hostile takeover. Why do businesses join together? Well, businesses will merge or they will want to grow for a variety of reasons. Now as a business gets bigger, that means it's going to be making more sales. So it's a good thing. That's why businesses want to grow and become larger. They have a bigger market share. Okay? They have more power. A bigger business is more powerful. Yeah? So they have more power in the market. They can start buying supplies cheaper, and they become a bigger, more powerful business. We have lower costs, what we call economies of scale. If you're watching this for the first time, don't worry about economies of scale. You will be doing that in year 11. But economies of scale just means as a business gets bigger, its average costs to produce a product becomes less. So its average cost per unit goes down. So economies of scale, bigger businesses can produce things for cheaper. They have a wider range of products, so they should be more successful if they're bigger. Okay? They can take over their suppliers, which gives them control over their raw materials, or they can take over retailers, which gives them control over where they sell their products. And these are what we're going to look at today with the different types of integration. Okay, now with this, I want you to think back to the previous session when we looked at industrial sectors. And we have the chain of production here. So we have the primary sector, secondary sector, and the tertiary sector. And remember, everything goes forwards in the chain of production from the primary to the secondary to the tertiary. Okay? So if we have a business that is in the secondary sector, a manufacturer, and it buys another business in the secondary sector, this is what we call horizontal integration, because you're going horizontally, like the horizon, across. You're staying within your sector. Okay? Equally, if we had two businesses in the primary sector, if we had a farmer buying a farmer, that would be horizontal because they're in the same sector. Okay? So if you're buying another business that's in the same sector as you, that does the same thing as you, such as two manufacturers buying each other, that's horizontal. Okay? If two retail stores buy each other, they're in the tertiary sector, that's horizontal. If a business in the secondary sector buys a business in the tertiary sector, this is what we call forwards vertical integration. Now the reason why it's forwards is because if you look at the chain of production, you're following the chain of production forwards. So it's forwards vertical because we're going vertically forwards. So if a secondary sector business bought a tertiary sector business, if a manufacturer bought a shop, that is forwards vertical integration. If a supplier, if a business in the primary sector, a supplier that supplies businesses bought a business in the secondary sector, that is also forwards vertical integration because we're going from the primary sector to the secondary, and that is forwards vertical integration. Lastly is backwards vertical integration, when a business buys another business behind it in the chain of production. So if we're going backwards from the tertiary to the secondary, or from the secondary to the primary, and that is backwards vertical integration. So if a retailer, if a store in the tertiary sector, okay, bought a business in the secondary sector, we are going backwards against the chain of production. That is backwards vertical integration. The last one, guys, sorry, is conglomerate merger. And a conglomerate merger is when you buy a business that has nothing to do with your type of business. For example, Toyota makes cars, and if Toyota decided to buy Weetabix or Kellogg's, they make breakfast cereal, that's a conglomerate merger because the two businesses have nothing to do with each other. Okay, they're totally unrelated businesses. Whereas in this example here, these are all computer businesses. This is a supplier that makes microchips, and this is a retailer that sells computers. Okay, you need to be aware of the benefits and drawbacks of the different types of integration. I'll just quickly go over this slide, guys, and read this one out to you. So horizontal integration, like I've already said, is when two businesses which make similar products, okay, at the same stage in the chain of production, such as a secondary sector business, manufacturer, buying a secondary sector business, manufacturer, manufacturing similar products, yeah, then that is horizontal integration, okay? Here I've got Lulu's buying Carrefour. So both of these two businesses are retailers, they retail food. So Lulu's buys Carrefour, that is horizontal integration because they are in the same sector in the chain of production. Forwards vertical integration, a business buys another business which is further forwards in the chain of production, such as Kellogg's, which is a manufacturer of breakfast cereal, buying Carrefour, which is a retailer. Kellogg's is in the secondary sector, Carrefour is in the tertiary sector, so we go from the secondary sector to the tertiary sector, so that is a forwards vertical integration. Backwards vertical integration, a business buys another business which is further back in the chain of production, so we're going backwards now in the chain of production vertically, such as Carrefour, which is in the tertiary sector, okay, that was at the top. So Carrefour in the tertiary sector going backwards and buying Weetabix, which is in the secondary sector, that is backwards vertical integration. And conglomerate merger, like we said before, guys, is when one business buys another business that has nothing to do with their current type of business, such as Carrefour buying Toyota. Totally different businesses. One makes food, one sells cars. Okay, you need to know why businesses would do each type of integration. So why would a business do horizontal integration? Remember, horizontal, one business is buying another business that does the same thing. So if you buy another business that does the same thing, that business must be a competitor because you're making competing similar products. So you buy them and you've killed a competitor, you've taken them out of the market, they now become part of your business. The combined business will also have a greater share of the market, so you will increase your market share because the competitor's market share now becomes your market share, okay, and your percentage of the market gets bigger. So the percentage of the market that you have gets bigger, okay? Forwards vertical integration. Now, for example, if a manufacturer buys a retailer, a secondary sector business buys a tertiary sector business, a retailer, that gives them a guaranteed assured shop to sell their manufactured goods. So if you make furniture and you buy a furniture retailer, what products are you going to put in that furniture retail store? You're going to put your products. So it gives you a guaranteed shop, a guaranteed outlet to sell your products from. The profit made by that retailer now becomes yours. So the profit that retailer made when they sell to the customer now becomes yours. So you take their profit margin. It's what we call absorbing. You absorb their profit into your business. So the new business now can take their profit. And that retailer can now be prevented from selling similar competing products. So if you own that furniture retailer, you'll stop it selling furniture from other manufacturers because you own them. So you'll just say, no, you can only sell our products now. Okay? So you can stop that retailer selling competing products. Backwards vertical, so this is when a business buys another business behind it in the chain of production, such as a manufacturer buying a business in the primary sector, like a supplier, maybe a farmer. So the merger gives an assured supply of raw materials because the business is behind in the chain of production, so they were your supplier, you buy them, and now you've got a guaranteed source of raw materials. You now no longer need to pay the supplier for the supplies, so the supplies become cheaper, okay, because you own the supplier. So the supplier before you owned them was making profit. whereas now you own them, so you don't have to pay them profit. You just buy the supplies, you get them cheaper now because you own them. The supplier can be prevented from supplying other manufacturers because you own the supplier, so you'll say, no, you only supply us, you do not supply somebody else. Because you own that supplier, you control them, you can stop them supplying other competing businesses. And because you own the supplier, you have full control over the costs and the quality of those supplies because that supplier becomes part of your business, so you fully own and control them. Conglomerate merger, the saying that I like to use in class, guys, is don't keep all your eggs in one basket. Because if you keep all your eggs in one basket and you fall over, all of your eggs are going to be broken. So what we do with conglomerate merger is like getting your eggs and spreading them into many different baskets. So if one basket breaks, you still have your other baskets. So with conglomerate merger, you're buying a totally unrelated business. So if something happens to your business, you still have the other one. Maybe you're a car manufacturer, people stop buying cars. Maybe there's a new invention, we don't need cars anymore. Okay? Well, if you own a food retailer, you've still got a business. Okay? So you're spreading your risk. This is what we call diversification. You're spreading your business out into many different types of industries. If sales fall in one business, you can now survive. Don't keep all your eggs in one basket. Spread your risk around, okay, into many different businesses. Okay, guys, that's all I've got today for integration. I'll see you next time.